Okay, this is the second step on developing our meteorDefender game. Let's take a look at it. Got the same stuff as before. Click to begin, move things around, but now I can fire lasers, though I'm not detecting collisions between the lasers and the objects. So you can see I hit that laser, or excuse me, I hit that meteor, but I didn't detect the collision, and eventually I run out of lasers because I've got a limited number of lasers. And now let's get inattentive, and there we go. We stop the game. So let's take a look at what we've added to this. First of all, these constants are for the width and the height of the lasers, which are going to be those little right rectangles. This statement here, maximum lasers, is assigned math.floor of this calculation. So I'm going to take 5 and multiply that by 1.2. Well, that gives me 6. And I'll apply the floor function. The floor function says give me the greatest integer that is no more than this. So the greatest integer that is no more than 6 is 6. So I get a maximum lasers of 6. In other words, I've got 20% more lasers than I have meteors. So I can afford to waste a few shots. Now this often isn't necessary, but if I make this thing say 48 lasers, excuse me, 48 meteors, then when I calculate 48 times 1.2, that will give me 57.6 would be the maximum lasers. Well, I can't have 57.6 lasers. So what I'll do instead is apply the floor function, and that will give me 57. So if I had 48 lasers, then this would give me 57. Let me try that again. If I had 48 meteors, this would give me 57 lasers. So that's why I have that calculation in there. Now, the laser velocity is going to be twice the meteor velocity. So the faster the meteors go, the faster the lasers go. Now this one's just a little bit of a challenge because it's a new function. It's the mouse-clicked function. When there's a mouse-clicked event, the mouse-clicked function is run. And the EVT is where the mouse click occurred. We're going to take all these global things. We're going to take the artillery. We're going to take a list of lasers. We're going to take a variable, which we haven't created, by the way, but we will in a minute. We're going to create a variable we're going to use a variable that's going to keep track of how many lasers have been fired, and then a constant that's going to keep track of the number of maximum lasers. So I'm going to use all of those things every time there's a mouse click. This statement says if the lasers fired is less than max lasers, which basically says when we haven't run out of ammunition, take a laser from the lasers list and set it, that is put it on screen, or actually this puts it on screen, but set its location to be centered underneath the mouse. So when I click the mouse, I'm going to take a laser, set its location to be centered under the mouse, and it's going to be right at the top of the artillery gun. So I set its location so it's exactly above the center of the artillery gun. I'm going to put it on screen, and then I'm going to count it. Now, standard setup here, we've seen that before. This is the usual setup that we did with the meteors. This sets up the artillery. This is new stuff. Lasers is an empty list. And now fill laser up with laser. Excuse me, fill lasers up with laser, which is a rectangle. It's of a certain width, a certain height, and it's white. And then add that. So we've got lasers as an empty list. Make a single laser, and then append that to lasers. Now note that I'm not adding it to the screen. I'm just loading up my list of lasers, and then I'll actually add it to the screen when we do the mouse click. That's the statement right there. Add it to the screen. And then the rest of this is the click sign, the number of hits, the hit sign, number of targets. We haven't fired any lasers yet, and we haven't destroyed the artillery. The usual stuff, the stuff that we did before, move all the meteors. But now we also, in our game loop, have to move the lasers. So I say for every laser up to the number of lasers that have been fired, take lasers sub laser, in other words, laser sub 0, laser sub 1, laser sub 2, if we fired 3 lasers, and move that up. So I'm going to take all the fired lasers and move them. And then the rest of this is checking for the meteor hitting the artillery, which is the stuff that we had before. And the only thing we've added to the end of the program is when we're done, when the artillery has been destroyed and we've hopped out of the game loop, do a little bit of cleanup with the meteors, that's old stuff, and do some cleanup with the lasers, which is new stuff. And that's it.